Welcome back. Today we're doing a how-to on making a patch panel. It's not really a bolt and unbolt, but this does involve a lot of fab work. There's lots of people out there with the tools, just not the skills, or the skills and not the tools. I'm working on quite a limited budget. As you can see, I've already done 2 of them that replace the bottom part of the A-pillar on the 88 F250 pickup. If we shine the light, you can see there's quite a bit more rust. Right now I have the rocker about where it needs to go. I know my measurements are correct for these panels here, and I'm just making another one that will wind up over here where you can see the lamp cord's currently coming through. Bear with me, it's going to be a little shaky. I don't have a tripod for this one, and the lighting's going to be horrible except for what's in frame. And that being said, next step is to measure and cut what you need to cut. So we're going to take our roller here and we're going to take our first measurement. Okay, first thing I'm doing is I'm taking a rough measurement of how big this is going to be. You can see we've got roughly 3 inches there. That might give you a little better idea. I'm going from this lip here. I'm going to continue this piece down and onto the inner rocker, and that will aid in supporting the weight of the cab on top of the vehicle. So we're going to continue this down, and I got roughly 3 inches, so we're going to go with 3 inches. Height's roughly, you can see that, there we go, 4 inches. I'm going to go with 5, and that's because when you go ahead and you look at this, I'm going to do pretty much the same thing I did on the other side over here, where the panel is going to come down, and then there's going to be a flat piece to spot weld onto the rocker. This isn't actually necessary in this case, I don't think, because it's just a rocker. It's not actually supporting any weight. However, I want to bring it back up to about where it was stock, and with that being said, we're going to tie in as much as we can. So next video here, we're going to have a panel roughly cut, and we'll go from there. Okay, now you can see the rough shape of the panel after I cut it out. I marked along the back side, gave me a little extra as you can see. That cut's obviously not the straightest, so I'll probably straighten that out some here. But there's a little bit of fine tuning and trimming, and you're going to have to put a little bit of a curve on this edge, just a little fold over, not much. My cut's kind of rough, so we're going to be doing something about that too. I'll probably take it over to the bench grinder and smooth it out. And when we come back, we'll have a nice, pretty patch panel for this section. Okay, so when I cut, I kind of forgot I wanted to put a bend at the bottom. So you can see this piece now has that wonderful bend that we can go ahead and spot weld through to attach it to the rocker here. So just to recover it, I made a new one. It's a little bit off. It's going to need trimming. I'm going to make that happen here quick, and then we're going to get back onto putting this in place. You can see there will be plug welds or spot welds. They'll sit in about like that, and it'll be welded in. And it is a tight fit, so there we go. Now it's staying. That's about what it's going to look like. This edge, I'll pick it up for you. That edge I just took and put a little bit of a corner on it just so it matches up with this edge here. They both kind of actually bow in the center, and that's so any weld will be able to be ground off and still have, you know, a good strong solid weld there. I am working on with a little 110 MIG over here, so there's a plasma cutter underneath too, which is a really nice little tool to have. Maybe I'll do a video on how to use that at one point, because that one actually is about a $1,500 to $2,000 unit I traded a boat for. Works really well for sheet metal. Doesn't do much thicker than that, but you know, does what I have the abilities to do here as far as body repair goes. So works very well. I have a full set of body hammers. I have a bunch of other metalworking tools. However, the vise and the ball peen hammer seem to be my favorites every single time. I always wind up going back to them. You can pick 50 different hammers, but you know, in long run, unless it's something that's going to be on the exterior and it's going to be seen, vise and ball peen. That's how I did all this through here and the one back here, along with the complex contours to make this match up, which that part's dented in, but that's just easier to make it match up in a dented in form than to pull both straight back out and all that. So we just ran with that one. But here's a little panel, has the edge curled over. I did this with the ball peen and the vise too. And key with ball peen and any hammering on metal, you can see there's a slight little twist here and there. I could have got it more perfect if I felt like it. I really didn't, because again, this is not going to be seen once it's in. It's just structural. Nice thick stuff, by the way. Light, small taps. That's really what it takes. If you need a focused hit, use the ball end. If you need a more broad hit or to finish up, use the flat head of the ball peen. The other tip I have for you there is when I say light hits, usually to get it started you need a couple decent whacks, but when you're finishing this edge, to make this all the same, just let the hammer drop. That's really all it takes. Little very light hits repetitively over and over and over again will bend it to about where you need. So next step is to get this piece in place and to weld everything up. So I'm going to get that done and we'll be right back. Okay, for a little pre-welding mock-up tips, I have a very small gap here. Enough to fit the wire through is really what you need, whatever wire you're running. And this one's a little bigger than it should be at the bottom, a little skinnier at the top, but that'll fill in as we come through. There's a little gap there too, if you can see it. There we go. You can see that little bit of a gap. It's just enough that, again, you fill the gap in between the metal. Makes your welds a little bit stronger, a little bit better. And now I'm off to welding, and we'll get this panel in, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, now the patch panel is welded in. The method I used was stitch welding or spot welding or tack welding. Depends who you ask and what they do. Long story short, little tiny weld, go an inch over, little tiny weld, inch over, little tiny weld, inch over, little tiny weld. And then you go back and do another one and another one and another one. And it really does take some time. In this case, again, 110 MIG, flux core wire, not the prettiest, but definitely functional. And in a small space, most people have the 110 MIG, so that's what I'm using here. Any questions or comments about making your own patch panel or anything you'd like to see in depth a little more, I'll be glad to cover it. Just let me know and we'll see what we can do about getting a video. I have a whole lot more ahead of me, believe it or not. So anything that needs to be seen, there is definitely gonna be a lot more work. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again.